Apparently, one football player who does not seem to be from this planet was not enough for the Tennessee Titans. Derrick Henry, not of this world. Now they get Julio Jones, too. Maybe they'll play the Monstars. We'll see. Joining me now from Locked On Titans, Tyler, Rowland, and Ty. How much do you think this changes the ceiling for the Tennessee Titans?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, the Monstars thing, because you got certain players out there, not even on the Titans, saying that they're the Tennessee Nets, because they're going to be trying to add everybody now. So I think that's pretty funny. But realistically speaking, I mean, you looked at the Tennessee Titans team right now. They reallocated a lot of resources to the defensive side of the ball with the draft and free agency. They didn't really do a lot to replace the playmakers they lost on the offensive side of the ball. So this move puts them back into a spot where you figured they were going to regress on offense because of the pass catchers that they lost, but they stacked the defense. Maybe they could be a more balanced team rather than terrible defense, good offense. Thought, okay, they'll kind of average up. But now with the addition of Julio Jones, I think it gives them the ability to have just as potent of an offense as they had last year, a top 5 style offense. And when you add a top 5 caliber offense like we've seen from the Titans the last 2 years, and what should be, quote unquote, should be a improved defense for the Titans, you put that together and you have to think that they should be able to make a deep run into the playoffs and win a few games. Whether they can beat the Chiefs at the end of the day, if that's who they match up with in the AFC Championship game again, I don't know if they're there, but I think they'll be able to compete in that game, and who knows how the chips fall. So I think this takes them from kind of losing wild card weekend, losing divisional round weekend, to having a chance to get to the AFC Championship game, and ultimately gives them a chance to make it to the Super Bowl.
The other thing that strikes me about this deal is getting Julio Jones means a team like Baltimore doesn't. Or any of the other AFC contenders who were rumored to be involved here. The Ravens were the favorite, in fact, to get Julio Jones. So to bring him in, even if he is not going to change the world the way that he might have in his prime, you're keeping him away from some of those other teams. So if you're going to stack the hierarchy, I mean, it's the Chiefs, we think, and then sort of everyone else. But does this put the Titans in that sort of next tier to you?
Well, honestly, the thing is, the defense is such a question mark. If Mike Vrabel had any modicum of NFL success being in charge of a defense, I would be able to say, yeah, they're with the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Packers, those teams right there. But the reality is, until I see the defense, I can't quite commit to that. I think they're right there with the Bills, the Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers, if they get their act right and play the way they played at the beginning of the year. They're with those teams. And honestly, I think a dark horse here is the Chargers, which you talk about the teams that the Titans kept him away from. The Chargers were rumored to be in there. The Colts were in early on. The Ravens, the Patriots were right in there. The Raiders were considered a dark horse. So a lot of the big, heavy teams, other than like Seattle and San Francisco, a lot of the big, heavy teams in the race were in the AFC. And when you think about the Chiefs being that top of the mountain team, you're playing Mortal Kombat, they're the final boss. When you think about that, and then you think about all the other teams that are kind of in that mishmash area that I just mentioned, what could be the one thing that puts the Titans above, to not only put them with the Chiefs, but put them above the Chiefs potentially? It's a Julio Jones trade. It's this move. So you're right. It's not only just adding to what the Titans needed so desperately. It's the fact that you may have put yourself in a position to level yourself up against all the competitors who coincidentally were also kind of in on this race. So it's twofold in the benefits there, but you're 100% right. It helps in a multitude of ways.